Good morning and welcome to KZSC News, local news from the Monterey Bay for March 9th, 2017.
Last week in Santa Cruz, a surfer's life was saved due to quick action taken out on the waves. A local surfer named Adam explains.
This guy was just kind of lying down in the water, with his head down in the water, kind of shaking. There was another guy there and was like, "Hey man, are you okay?" And the guy wasn't responding, so we kind of went over there, and the guy's like, "No," he tapped him and he's like, "Are you okay?" And the guy and so the dude wasn't responding, so I was like, "Turn him over." We put him on my board, on his back, and then I basically just banged up his chest real good. I actually used my elbow, and I was freaking me out because he just wasn't moving, he wasn't breathing. And so I kind of just kept compressing his chest, and we started, swimming him on my board closer to the shore. After a while, the bubbles kind of started coming. He kind of started moving around and opening his eyes, but for maybe a good minute, maybe a minute and a half, he was not breathing.
Wow.
I mean, I had my hand on his chest, and it was some pretty spooky stuff.
Despite being a major technology hub in California, San Jose had trouble with its flood alert system during the recent flood along Coyote Creek. Although Santa Clara County has the authority to access the Integrated Public Alert and Warning System, which sends alert to residents based on geography, there is no official guidelines for county officials to use the system. To address complaints, the Deputy Director of the county's Office of Emergency Services assured that an improved system would be available by the end of March.
Last week, California made updated measurements of the snow accumulated in the Sierra Nevada mountains. The Sierra snowpack generally peaks around April 1st, and the snowmelt provides water for California long into the summer dry season. After years of extraordinary drought in the state, but a seemingly wet January and February, this March survey attracted a lot of attention. Frank Gerke announced the results, and it's good news.
We had a water content of 43.4, and that water content represents 179% of its long-term average. Central and southern regions are tracking very close to 1983, which is the maximum recorded snowpack pretty much statewide. The eastern Sierra, Mammoth, has got, gigantic snowpacks. Tuolumne, the same thing. They have a really bountiful snowpack.
Lapis Lustre, owned by Cemex, turned 100 last year, making it America's last coastal sand mining plant. It has remained open longer than any of its other competitors because of its dredge pond. Created in 1959, the dredge pond is a coastal pond which collects sand carried into the pond by wind and other natural forces. The pond, which is practically on the beach itself, rests less than 200 meters away from the mean high tide line, which establishes the boundary between private and public property per the California Coastal Act. This distinction kept the plant running while every other sand mining operation was closed due to the negative impacts of said operations. University of California professor Gary Griggs from the Institute of Marine Sciences comments on these impacts.
The shoreline is a pretty active environment. There's both the impacts on ecosystems, and there's also just the impacts on shoreline erosion, which is the facilities, the development, the utilities that are in that zone. So both are affected. As the shoreline retreats, anything that was living there either has to migrate or is gone, or anything that's built in that environment is going to have to be protected or removed.
Cemex has claimed that their dredge pond does not contribute to coastal erosion in any meaningful way. However, Professor Griggs casts doubt on the presumed difference in impact between dredge ponds and traditional sand mining.
There is no significant difference because all the sand comes off the beach. It's only made a difference in who apparently has jurisdiction over it because it's, quote, above mean high tide. It's quite clear from a number of years now of observation that the amount of sand being removed from the dunes that's causing dune erosion is almost exactly equivalent to the amount of sand they're taking out.
The California Coastal Commission stated their intent to file a cease and desist order for the operation in March of last year. However, this has not happened yet. and CMEX would likely take the issue to court, which could turn to years of costly litigation.
International Women's Day was celebrated on March 8th, but the Santa Cruz United Nations Association observed the event on Saturday at the Loudon Nelson Community Center. Locals gathered for a discussion specifically on local women leaders in the food movement and conducted a silent auction to benefit UNICEF. The Socialist Party of America first celebrated the Women's Day by honoring garment workers in 1909 protesting bad working conditions. Yesterday, the International Women's Day was celebrated with a strike at the Quarry Plaza and ending in downtown Santa Cruz.
University of California has released an updated immunization policy where UC student health directors have implemented a plan that ultimately required incoming students of the 2016 to 2017 academic year to provide proof of immunity to respiratory transmitted vaccine-preventable diseases, to undergo tuberculosis screening, and to submit documentation of vaccination to student health services. By the academic year of 2017 to 2018, the plan intends for student health centers to begin submitting compliance data to their campus registrars so they can begin registration holds on non-compliant incoming students.
New details continue to emerge regarding the relationship between the Santa Cruz Police Department and the Department of Homeland Security following their local heavily armed raids of February 13th. During the Santa Cruz City Council meeting on February 28th, 4 community members said they'd heard that a DHS agent was embedded at the Santa Cruz Police Department. Councilmember David Terrazas initially questioned the notion.
When you have statements that are thrown along like that, I think they need to be verified.
Councilmember Sandy Brown said she'd heard about the DHS agent directly from Santa Cruz County Supervisor John Leopold.
I spoke with John Leopold, and I have an email right here, so I can forward that to you.
Santa Cruz Police Chief Kevin Fogel answered the question directly.
We've provided office space for a special agent with the Department of Homeland Security investigations since I believe it was 2009 following the death of Tyler Tenorio. And so we solicited the help of Homeland Security investigations.
City Council member Chris Crone offered a follow-up question about the SCPD Homeland Security collaboration.
Why wasn't this embedded ICE person ever mentioned before now, and we had to find out through the supervisor?
He's never enforced immigration law. The issue's never come up before. My intention is going to be essentially to serve the Homeland Security agent with eviction papers.
The Monterey County Juvenile Hall project has been pushed back due to lack of funds. The goal is to create a new juvenile hall that is ADA compliant, will have space for classrooms, and improved medical facilities, among other things. The project is currently $5.9 million over budget, and failure to acquire the funding needed will result in the Project SB 81 grant being taken away. On a separate note, the county is concurrently working on a $90,576-bed county jail expansion, which remains on schedule.
Santa Cruz's preliminary plan to build a new parking garage downtown was discussed at a meeting Saturday night at the Santa Cruz Police Community Room, hosted by the local advocacy group Campaign for Sensible Transportation. The city is considering building a 5-story garage, which would likely cost $33 to $37 million, above a new library, which would likely cost $23 to $27 million. The proposed location is Cedar Street, between Cathcart and Lincoln Streets, where the downtown farmers market is held. The plans are largely conceptual because the campaign wants to first launch a transportation management program. Through parking fees that would discourage driving, payment for commuters who carpool, encouraging biking or taking public transit, free transit passes, a marketing campaign, and more. They hope to reduce the demand for parking downtown before Santa Cruz City Council considers the funding plan for the garage this fall.
A body was discovered in the Monterey Bay on Saturday, and as of Wednesday afternoon, it remains unidentified. The body, a white male between 25 and 40 years old and weighing about 152 to 160 pounds with brownish-gray hair, showed no signs of trauma. He had no visible tattoos or dental work and was found wearing a red Sriracha brand t-shirt, Rothko brand BDU-style pants, and a maroon beanie. If you have any further knowledge, please contact the Santa Cruz County Sheriff's Office at 831-471-1121.
This is John Malkin.
I'm Sydney Fishman.
I'm Keith Rozendal.
And I'm Jeannie Santos.
This is Kathy Damian.
I'm Maelin Rose.
And I'm Ty Goering with KZSC News, only on 88.1 FM.